Good day, friends. This is Jim Stockstill giving you another teaching from the program entitled The Handwriting on the Wall. And I want to do a short, but there's some real good points I have on this. Daniel's 70 weeks. I know it's a very complicated teaching, but I'm going to try to simplify it, and I'm also going to try to present it in ways that you understand it. I've been studying it for many, many years. So here's the background of it. Daniel, he was exiled in Babylon. He'd been carried away as a slave when Jerusalem was plundered and destroyed for their disobedience to God. And for 70 years, according to the prophet Jeremiah. And then Daniel understood by the books that after 70 years they would get to come back to the land. So he's in prayer, and he's praying really intently, and he's confessing the sins of himself and the sins of his people, and then all of a sudden he gets interrupted by Gabriel, and Gabriel comes in and he gives him the most astounding revelation of anything in the Bible. It encompasses the very end of time, the very end of days. I'm going to read this first, and I'm going to just talk to you about it. So bear with me. It's Daniel 9. It's a famous book. I'm going to start with verse 21 of Daniel chapter 9. Okay, now stay with me, because I know you all can get bored very easily in this technological age, Yes, while I was still speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, who had seen in a vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. This is the evening time, and Daniel was remembering that the Jewish people in their temple, they had their oblation at this time of the evening. I think it's 3 o'clock, the very time that Christ was died on the cross. He informed me and said, Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplication, the commandment came forth to me, and I've come to show you, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore, understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined unto thy people. Whose people? Daniel's people. Who's Daniel's people? Daniel's people is Israel, or the Jewish people. The Jewish people, Daniel's people. Thank God we've been grafted into the true vine, which is Israel. He says 70 weeks are determined. Here's the purpose: to finish the transgression, make an end of sins. Make an end of sins. So it's, we haven't made an end of sins, and if we're honest with ourselves, we still battle sin in our bodies daily. But this is for the very end, to make these things. That we finish the transgression, make an end of sin, make reconciliation for iniquity, bring in everlasting righteousness. So it hasn't been done yet. And to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. The most holy. Know therefore and understand, from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem, unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. So here he starts talking. I'm going to just read it. And then I'll go back and explain it. The street shall begin, and shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous time. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end war and desolations. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Okay, now let me. I hope you stayed with me. Okay, good. So Gabriel says you got 70 weeks to make an end to sin. to anoint the Most High, and in one translation, to anoint Christ, bringing everlasting righteousness. There's 70 weeks, but these are 70 weeks of years. Now it seems funny, weeks of years seems funny to us, but in the Jewish people, they even have the Feast of Weeks. They have weeks can be a number of months or a number of years, and in this case, it's 70 years are determined. 70 weeks of years, which is 70 times 7, which is 490 years are determined to finish everything. Now this is about 500 years before Christ was executed, before Christ was crucified on the cross. So we just got 490 years. But he says 7 weeks and 62 weeks from the commandment to go out and restore Jerusalem until Messiah is cut off. So you got 7 weeks and you've got 62 weeks. So you add them together, that's 69 weeks. So that's 483 years from the commandment to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. Well, Cyrus told the Jews to go out and rebuild Jerusalem, but you could see in Ezra and Nehemiah that they kept getting stopped and delayed and all that. But finally, Xerxes, a Persian ruler, finally said, let's do it. Now, there was Sir Robert Anderson of the Scotland Yards, a famous detective who figured this all out, and he had it down to the day. And if you really want to research this, from the time that Xerxes said, go and build, to when Jesus was cut off, right in there was the 7 weeks and 62 weeks, the 69 weeks, the 483 years. Then it adds, right at that time, people of the prince shall come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. Well, that was like 70 AD, like that 30 years afterwards. So apparently in this 69 weeks, this is determined. People of the prince to come. So that may be telling us something, that this is speaking about the Antichrist who is to come. The Antichrist who is to come, who's going to but this is the people of the Antichrist who are to come. The subject of the sentence is the people of the prince. Of the prince that shall come is the prepositional phrase. The people is the subject. The people shall destroy the sanctuary. Now it's very interesting. Most people say, well, that's Roman. The Roman legion under Titus destroyed the city in 70 AD. So I've got a lot of stuff going on in 70 AD. So but it's interesting to note that although it was a Roman legion, Rome always brought in the people that they conquered, and they had conquered the Arabs in that region. So this legion of soldiers really were of future Muslim descent. The Muslims weren't there yet, but they're Arab descent. So some scholars make an argument that, you know, the last empire won't be Rome, but it will be Muslim. It'll be Islam, which was 500 years later. Muhammad came 500 years later than that, and established Islam. So that's a possibility. But Rome destroyed the city and the sanctuary, because Jesus said in Matthew 24, not one stone would be turned upon another, if you can remember that. And so that knocks off the 69 weeks. Now we have now we're 2,020 years approximately beyond that. We haven't had the 7th week yet. So we say, well, you've had it. Well, we couldn't have had it because we haven't made an end to sin. We haven't anointed Christ. We haven't brought in everlasting righteousness. This is all about the end of the age. I don't care what anybody says. It's very simple. Very simple to us. So, we'll go from there. The people of the prince shall destroy the city. That knocks off your 69 weeks of years. So we got 1 week left. Now, it says, he shall confirm. So that's got to go back to the people of the prince. So there's got to be some kind of prince, and I don't know if he's got to be Jewish or not. He probably will have to be Jewish. He's going to confirm a covenant. Now, it says confirm a covenant. It doesn't say it doesn't say make a new covenant. It said it shall confirm the covenant for 1 week, and in the midst of the week, he's going to execute the abomination of desolation. Or, in other words, that's what it's talking about when he's going to make the abomination that causes desolation. So, the abomination of desolation. So, he's going to confirm a covenant for 1 week. 1 week is 7 years. So that starts the very last of this age. Now, many Bible scholars, well, I don't know if they're Bible scholars, but the wrong idea is that the tribulation is going to be for 7 years, but it's not going to be for 7 years. It says that in the middle of the week, or 3.5 years, he breaks this and causes the abomination of desolation. In other words, it refers back to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 when he stands up and in the temple of God proclaims that he's above everything that is called God, that he is God. So that's the abomination of desolation. And it had happened once before, a prototype of that, where a guy, Epiphanes, I can't remember his first name, sacrificed a pig on the altar in the Jewish temple, and he put a picture of Zeus there. But this guy himself is going to put himself as Zeus. He's going to put himself as a powerful God. He's going to it's going to be the abomination that causes desolation. Okay, are you with me so far? Should I have to go over any of this? All right. You know, the 69 weeks of years have already gone. Now we're looking for 1 more week, and right now with this, they're always trying to have a peace treaty in Israel. So we're always looking at that, but there will be a temple that's going to be built. It's pretty well proven that they got the red heifer. They got to have a red heifer. They got to have get all the vessels of the temple ready, and the showbread. They're going to go back to animal sacrificing. Don't think that's crazy, because Muslims are doing that right now in Mecca. They sacrifice animals all the time. It's the blood of the animals that make them clean. Thank God it's the blood of Jesus that makes us clean. It's the only thing that can make us clean. Nothing but the blood of Jesus can make us clean. And so they're going to go back to the temple. They're going to go back to we're going to go back to animal sacrifice. Now the problem is the temple that they want to build, they think there's some problems there, because there's a Islamic mosque setting on that site. Although some architects and engineers have said no, the site's a little bit to the left or to the front of it, you know, so they do have room to build it. So I don't know. That's the only thing holding it back right now is that they get to build the temple, and then after they build that temple, they start offering sacrifice. This guy sets himself up in the temple. He's a great leader. He's brought an end to a lot of the problems in the world for a short time, and after 3.5 years he breaks this, and that's the abomination of desolation. Now let's talk to you about Matthew 24. You know, Jesus was talking like to 4 of his disciples, I think, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, I think. Yeah, the 4 that he was talking to, and he was telling them a personal thing about, they said, Rabbi, tell us what's going to be the end of the world, and you're coming, and he said, well, he said, look at this temple here. He said, not one stone will be laid upon one another. It's going to all be tore down. And he said, there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. There's going to be earthquakes in many places. He says, nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. He said, but that's just the beginning of sorrow. He said, then he says the most profound thing if you read chapter 24. Verse 15 is the pivotal point of Matthew 24. It's the most salient point. It's the powerful point. He says, when you therefore see the abomination of desolation, he's referring to, spoken about by the prophet Daniel. Okay, he's referring to Daniel 9:27 here, the abomination of desolation. He says, if you're in Judea, don't flee, get out of there. He says, if you're on the housetop, don't come down to get your coat. If you're in the field, don't come back. He says, just get out of Dodge, make haste, get out of there, because he says there's going to be tribulation that has never been since the beginning of time, or will ever be again. So this is how important this is. When this Antichrist stands up in the temple of God and proclaims that he is God. Now, 2 Thessalonians is very important in studying this too, and I always bring that in. But, Paul went to him, and, the abomination of desolation starts the tribulation period. So the last 3.5 years of this 7 week of years cycle, this 7-year cycle, is the Great Tribulation. It's the Great Tribulation. So that's when, even for the sake of the elect, Jesus will come back. If not, all flesh will be destroyed. That's how bad it's going to be. So now 2 Thessalonians also points to that fact, because Paul is just reiterating what Jesus said in Matthew 24 in another way. But he'd already been to Thessalonica once before, and there was a teaching going around that the day of the Lord had already come. But the day of the Lord is also the abomination of desolation. That's the day of the Lord when God starts putting this world back into shape. The day of the Lord is when Revelation takes place. The day of the Lord is when I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. He wasn't in the Spirit on the Sabbath. He was in the Spirit on the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is unto the Lord as 1,000 years. 1,000 years is to the Lord as a day. This is when God starts putting everything back into order. That's when the book of Revelation starts unfolding. The judgment starts coming. The churches starts getting judged. The beast rises up out of the sea. The beast rises up out of the of land. We get the false prophet comes. The two witnesses come. This is all in the day of the Lord, and it starts at the abomination of desolation. That's pretty simple. I put it in pretty simple terms. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. He says, but 2 Thessalonians, let me say it really good. He says, I'm coming to you, Thessalonians, you Thessalonians, one more time. He says, I'm coming concerning the day of the Lord and when we're going to be gathered unto him. There's a compound subject here. He says, that day, what day? The day of the Lord will not come unless there first be a great falling away and the man of sin be revealed, who exalts himself above the throne of God and proclaims that he is God. Remember what I told you the last time I was there? But he who restraineth will restrain until he be taken out of the way. There's like 16 positive verses here, and yet I've seen a couple of brilliant pastors butcher this thing and turn the whole thing around. But a simple English major could take this thing and outline it, and wouldn't even have to be a Christian, and would say, here's what Paul's saying. When the day of the Lord comes, we're going to be gathered unto him. That's when it starts, somewhere in there, we're going to be gathered unto him. So I hope I've summarized this for you. Daniel's 70 weeks is going to bring in a conclusion, an end to sin, anointing of the Most High, everlasting righteousness. The last week of the 70th week starts with a confirmed covenant with Israel. In the middle of that week, in 3.5 years, it's broken. The last 3.5, that starts the abomination of desolation. When it's broken, he tells everybody that he's God, and that starts the last 3.5 years of the tribulation period. And that's it in a nutshell. until next time, this is James Stockstill saying, I want you to keep looking for the handwriting on the wall. Handwriting on the wall.